When you drove to the Treehouse that night, what route did you take?
Straight up 2nd Avenue.
Right up 2nd, right? Now, would that be the same street in the Florida Keys Electric video?
No.
That's not the same street.
No.
Okay. Okay. Now, you said that was you in the video, though, right? In the Florida Keys Electric video, when you walked up there to go get cigarettes.
Yes.
You walked back with Rory Wilson, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What was Rory wearing at that point?
Same clothes he was wearing when we left. Black shorts and a black top. Long
Black shorts, black top. Not to be gruesome, but did he have any blood on him?
No.
Okay. Okay. And according, again, to your story, I returned to the house prior to that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did I have any blood on me?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. And let's see. Now, you testified that you turned around while you were driving away and saw me running down the street collecting things. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And again, it wasn't easy to see. I mean, again, is it dark out?
It was dark, yes.
It's dark, okay. And you're trying to drive while you're looking around, right? Because you got scared, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how long would you say you looked back?
Maybe 5 seconds.
5
maybe
seconds?
3. This is
Something like that? Okay.
maybe a second and a half. I don't know. My perception of time is not perfect.
Would you agree it's hard to drive when you're looking backwards?
No.
Okay.
Considering I was making a right turn, my angle of view, right turn, I still had peripherals. I was very aware of what my surroundings were.
Very aware of your surroundings.
Yes.
So you looked back when you went to make the turn, not when you first took off.
That's where I was at the turn. When my truck was stopped at the stop sign, it was an immediate right turn. There was no much forward, no further than maybe the length of my vehicle to make the right turn.
That's where the stop sign is.
Correct.
Right? I think you said about 25 meters.
50 meters from the gate.
50 meters from the gate, but I mean from the corner, I think you said about 25.
Okay, according to what question?
This is when I asked you how far you were away from the corner. Remember,
When I dropped you
showed us
guys
up here.
off, I was about 25 meters from the gate. Then I pulled forward after you guys exited my truck and stopped at the stop sign, off on the side of the road.
Hold on a second. And didn't need all that. I just want to clarify.
Judge, to the commentary, Judge, you asked a question, the witness was answering it.
Okay, we'll sustain the objection.
Okay. I was asking a very specific question. And, okay, you just told me a second ago that it was 50 meters to the gate. Now, I just asked you about the 25 meters to the corner. You just said 25 meters to the gate, which is...
From the initial point of drop-off of my truck,
Okay.
where I stopped and let you guys out, was approximately 25 meters.
To the
When
gate
y'all got
or-
out of my truck,
To the gate
I
or the
pulled
corner?
forward another approximately 25 meters to the stop sign. So between the gate and the end of the street is about 50 meters.
Okay.
From my peripherals, my point of view, my range estimation, and my memory is approximately 50 meters.
Okay, so you pulled up after we supposedly got out.
Yes.
And let's see. Now, when you said you saw Rory when you were walking with him back from the Tom Thumb or the Treehouse area, right? Now, just to clarify, is the Tom Thumb right before you get to the Treehouse?
It is at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and I don't believe I know the name of the cross street, but it's right there in front of the firehouse.
Right in front of the what?
The firehouse.
Oh, the firehouse. Okay, so, just to keep the order correct here, it is Tom Thumb, the firehouse, then the Treehouse.
Yes.
Okay. And it's not very far, correct?
No.
Okay.
All right, let's squeeze in a break. We'll get you back into that courtroom where the Treehouse murder trial continues against Franklin Tucker. Don't go anywhere.
Contentious divorce lead to a killing.
Jennifer Julos vanished in 2019 and has never been found.
Her estranged husband was charged with her murder, but died by suicide before going to trial.
Now his girlfriend, Michelle Troconis,
Stands trial for her alleged role in the disappearance.
I think this is going to be a really fascinating case. They've thrown everything up against this defendant.
The Missing Mom Conspiracy Trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Court TV Live, our cameras are in Florida this morning for the testimony in the Treehouse murder trial.
Franklin Tucker charged with robbery and homicide in the death of Matthew Bonnett. A property known as the Treehouse is where this allegedly took place. Co-defendant John Travis Johnson is on the stand, and this is cross-examination. One of these two is lying in front of the jury. It's up to the jury to figure out who. Let's go back.
Okay, and let's see. Now, you said when you saw Rory Wilson, no conversation between you and him about what had happened.
I asked him what happened.
Okay, and what did he say?
Don't worry about it.
Just don't worry about it, that's all he said?
Yes.
Okay. And did he say anything when he got back?
About the situation? No.
Okay. So just no more conversation about it?
No.
For the rest of the evening?
No.
Okay.
You know that. We didn't talk about it at all.
Didn't ask. Okay, so, and let's see. Now, you said that Rory Wilson pulled out a tin that supposedly had crack. Is that correct?
Well, it wasn't a tin per se metal, but it looked like a snuff can. Yes.
Like a snuff can. Okay.
Yes.
Like a Copenhagen.
A round container that had a lid on it.
Like Copenhagen or something like
Sure.
that, right? Okay.
Snuff.
Snuff. Okay. Okay, and let's see. Now, you said that, again, when we supposedly went in there and changed clothes and came out armed, that Rory Wilson had the mask that was shown to you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that supposedly I had a neck gaiter, right?
Correct.
And you described that in very specific terms, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if I remember right, you said it had Jägermeister. Was it just one big word, or was it a bunch of...
Bunch of little words, Jägermeister, repeatedly all over the whole thing.
Okay. Okay. And let's see. Now again, just again for clarification purposes, you said that I was the one who had the money, correct?
That you had the money?
That I had the money in my pocket?
No.
Oh, it was Rory Wilson who had
Yes.
the money in his pocket.
And
okay.
tin.
And the tin. So he had the money and the tin.
Yes.
Okay. 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 Now, let's move on to the next stages for a second. You said you went to the beach the next stage. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and how long were you there?
Most of the day.
Most of the day, okay. Let's see. And now, I think you testified that you were freaked out or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, and that's why you went to the beach?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and let me make sure I've got my dates here correct. But you didn't start moving until the 19th, is that correct?
The 19th, I know it was the day of the raid. Whatever day that was, if it's the 19th, then that was the day, or if it was the 20th, that was the day. I'm not exactly sure when the raid occurred.
And you started getting...
My belongings, my personal effects, yes.
Okay, and is that when I supposedly helped you move your trunk?
Correct.
Okay, so that would be either the 19th or the 20th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, would you be surprised if I told you the raid happened on the 22nd?
Again,
21st,
I told you it was the day of the raid. I don't remember exactly what day it happened on.
Okay. So you were freaked out on the 18th, but you chose to leave on the 21st.
Yes.
21st, 22nd.
When I actually had the ability to leave.
Okay. But I helped you
Because I didn't
pack on the
have any.
19th, correct?
The days are fuzzy, Mr. Tucker. I know that it was the day of the raid. If this was the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, or the 22nd, I know that was the day that I decided to leave.
Okay. Well, I guess what my question is if you were freaked out on the 18th, why would you wait until the 22nd, 21st, 22nd?
Didn't have anywhere to go.
Okay. And now, you also testified that when you got up to Big Pine and you discovered this backpack in your foot locker, right? That you chucked it into a closet, correct?
Yes.
And you just opened up the closet, throw it in?
I just opened the closet and put it down inside. Yeah, threw it inside of it.
Okay.
It's not a big closet.
Okay. Is there anything else in the closet?
Yes, an air conditioner.
Okay. Good. Now, would you be surprised to learn that former Detective Malone already testified that it was underneath of the AC vent? Looked like it was placed under there on purpose.
Objection, Judge. That's a mischaracterization of the evidence.
Well, let's hear the full question because I didn't know that we were at the end.
Did you not just chuck it in there? Did you actually shove it up underneath the vent?
There's about 2.5 feet in between the bottom of the air conditioning unit and the bottom concrete of the slab of the house. That's plenty of room for me to toss it in there and toss it under it, Mr. Tucker. There was no, I guess you could say, hiding, but yes, removal from my presence.
I'm not very familiar, but again, would you be surprised to say, if I told you Danielle Malone testified that it was only about this high?
Judge, I'm going to object to the
Yeah,
question.
I'm going to sustain that objection.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, now, when I supposedly got back to the treehouse, what happened? I supposedly got back, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And, I mean, obviously, I would have had to have gotten back somehow.
Yes.
If you left me there.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Are you aware of how many video cameras there are around the warehouse?
Not even a clue.
All right, now, you also testified that when the police showed up, you had a discussion with Penny Phelps.
Yes.
Okay. And you were out there on the patio or the porch or whatever with Scott, right?
Yes, I was actually pushing a toolbox into the center of my truck after I had gone through it looking for a pair of pliers.
Oh, you were looking for a pair of pliers, okay. And what did Penny Phelps have to, did she ask you anything? Did she say anything to you?
Yes, she was concerned about what I had maybe witnessed in that portion of the area. If I'd seen anybody run by in dark clothes, African American in color. And I asked her what it was in reference to, and she said that there was a fight up the street at CVS.
There was a fight up the street at CVS?
Yes.
And, but you didn't tell her anything, did you?
No.
Okay.
There's nothing to tell her.
And now, if I remember correctly, after your truck got keyed and you were robbed, apparently, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you change the locks on the door
At the
warehouse?
I did.
Okay. And were you the only one with the key?
No.
Okay. Who else had a key?
Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson had a key.
He did.
Okay. But I didn't have a key.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Now, back to when I supposedly got back. Did I meet you upstairs or did I meet you downstairs? Did I meet you outside the building?
Upstairs.
Upstairs. Okay, how did I get in?
You have feet. You walked.
Just
The
testify.
door wasn't locked.
Okay, door wasn't locked.
No.
Now, were you scared at all when again you just gotten done taking off? You said you were scared there. Were you still scared when you were upstairs?
I was a little nervous. Yes.
Okay. But you didn't lock the door.
No.
Okay.
Need a break as we
Yeah.
approach the top of the hour. I want to thank Michael Schaefer My time is up.
We have a lot ahead. Good to see you. Have a good rest of the afternoon. We're going to bring you more testimony in the Treehouse murder trial with Franklin Tucker. More of that cross-examination. Don't go anywhere. This is Court TV. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thanks so much for being with us this afternoon. We've got another busy day here at Court TV. We're following several major trials. In Florida, a Key West man is representing himself in a murder trial, and he's cross-examining his own co-defendant today. We'll get you back into the courtroom for more in the Treehouse murder trial in just a minute. And in Connecticut, defendant Michelle Troconis is back in court for her alleged part in the disappearance and presumed murder of Jennifer Dulos. There were some shocking details that came out about Dulos' marriage through the testimony of her nanny. That's coming up later this afternoon. Plus, new video. We're going to show you more of Donna Adelson's arrest as she was caught trying to flee the country late last year. Much more to come. Tune in this evening for a deep dive into that body camera of the arrest, including what her husband, Harvey Adelson, was caught on camera saying. That's tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. But we want to begin in Florida for the Treehouse murder trial. The defendant, Ty Tucker, is accused of fatally killing a man during a robbery back in November of 2017. But Tucker claims he was never at the property where it happened. He said he was passed out drunk around 9 p.m. before the murder happened. Let's get you back into the court now for the cross-examination of the Getaway driver, John Travis Johnson.
Testified you're scared, you get there, you're still scared. When you go, okay, when do you decide to go for cigarettes?
A few minutes after you showed up.
After I showed up, okay. Okay. And now, okay, so I show up, according to you, and you go get cigarettes. Now, are you scared at that point?
I mean, I'm trying to understand your explanation of fear, of scared. I've been in numerous stressful situations, and yes, I was nervous, but a level of fear that I think you're trying to achieve, me agreeing with is not what you would call fear in the sense of, oh no, what am I going to do? No, it was more or less, this situation is not of my liking anymore. I do not trust you or Tucker or Wilson anymore, and yeah, I want to be away from the scenario as quickly as possible. That's my level of fear.
Mr. Johnson, I wasn't looking for anything specific.
Objection.
I was just asking.
It's all right. We'll overrule it.
Okay. Okay, so you just said you apparently can handle fear. Is that correct?
Yes.
In
Objection
situations.
has been answered.
Didn't ask it yet.
Overrule the objection.
Thank you. So you've been in situations where you can handle fear, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you have the ability to remain calm during these kind of situations.
I don't know about calm, but I know how to function somewhat under stress, yes.
Function somewhat under stress. Okay, cool. Now, is that from your military experience?
Yes.
Okay. 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 Now, can I ask you again, did you go back to the beach on the 19th?
I went back to the beach several times.
Several times between the night it happened and the day or night when you left?
When I left the apartment, it was during the day.
During the day?
When I left permanently, when I went to Big Pine, it was during the day.
During the day. Okay. And you did say you had a conversation with April Walker, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you see me that morning?
You were upstairs, yes.
Okay. I was upstairs.
Yes.
Okay. Did I have a conversation with April Walker that you know of?
You may have, but I didn't hear it. I didn't see it.
That's all I was asking you. What?
Yes, I didn't hear it or see it, no.
I got you. But you did have one with her prior to you leaving, and what was that about again?
Where Rory Wilson was and where I was going.
Okay. Now, You weren't there for the so-called raid, right?
No,
Okay. And where were you at the time?
I was at the beach.
At the beach. Okay, so back at the beach. Okay. And when did you get there approximately? I mean, did you get there while they were still conducting this raid, or did you get there after it was over?
I got there after it was over.
After it was over.
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't talk to anybody at the raid or any of the police?
No, that night, like, I want to say late at night, before the sun came up after the raid, Miss Phelps and Detective Fernandez and another detective came in wanting to look into the ceiling.
Okay, so they came back a second time?
Yes.
Okay.
And they got my permission to look into the ceiling.
Okay. And did they find anything?
No.
Did you have any conversations with any of the officers at that point?
Yes, about my truck.
Okay, about the truck.
Yes.
Okay. Now, at this point, you still haven't offered them any information that you were involved, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Back to fear again for a second. I believe you testified that you didn't ask me out of fear. Is that correct? You asked me what happened.
Repeat the question?
I'm looking at the testimony that you've given, and you said you didn't ask me what happened because you were afraid.
I didn't ask you what happened, correct, because I was afraid of the answer. I was afraid of know anything.
Okay, you're afraid of the answer, but you weren't afraid of me.
Not really particularly, no.
Okay. And let's see. Okay. How many times did you go back and forth between the warehouse and Big Pine?
And Big Pine?
Yeah, where you were moving?
Once.
Just once?
When I left to go to Big Pine,
It was just
the first
once?
time and the only time that I had been to Big Pine.
Okay. Now, did you go up there to get the job with?
I went over there after I had secured the permission to stay there and the job.
Okay, and how did you secure that permission?
From Mr. Martin Ochoa.
Okay, but was it via the phone or face-to-face? I mean, how did that happen?
Face-to-face.
And did he meet you someplace, or?
I met him at Mangrove Mama's.
Okay, and I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember. Where's Mangrove Mama's?
Mile marker 20.
Mile marker 20. And where's Big Pine?
Mile marker 50.
Mile marker 50.
Or in between there. I'm not correct. I'm not sure, but I know it's further away than mile marker 20.
Okay. And you said you didn't see Wilson again except for after that first night, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, chance for discussion. And did you ever look into the backpack when you found it in your footlocker?
No.
You never looked into it?
No, I didn't look into it whenever I found it, no.
And you said, again, after you got to Big Pine, the police contacted you through Captain Phelps giving you a phone call. Is that
Yes.
correct? And do you remember, again, what they told you?
Yes, they wanted to conduct more of a follow-up investigation on my truck, take pictures of the vandalism, and get basically a statement from me, what I experienced.
Okay. All right. And you said they did their investigation on the truck at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, so what did that entail?
Them walking around it with body cams and taking still frame images of my truck and opening the doors and looking inside of it as well.
Okay, so they opened doors, they look inside. Did they take anything?
No, there was nothing in it to take.
Okay. And let's see. Okay. Now, let's see. Okay, if my memory serves. Okay, you said that you got scared and you took off when you saw Todd O'Quinn with his flashlight running up the hill, right?
Correct.
Now, why didn't you get freaked out when he came out the first time?
What?
Tyler Quinn came out twice.
I never encountered him but one time, visually. I never met the man, never saw the man, never communicated with the man. The only thing I saw of Tyler Quinn, didn't even know it was him until he ran across the street, flashing flashlight, screaming, "Help, help, help, police."
Okay.
That's what I remember of that individual.
Well, again, I didn't say you met him. Back to that, you encountered Tyler Quinn?
Visually.
Okay, visually. And as we've gone to the video ad nauseum now, he comes out twice. So that
Once again, I'm going to object to these questions.
Well, I'm going to sustain the objection
Okay, I'll
because it's
rephrase.
not a question.
No, I'll
it's
rephrase it.
commentary, so...
I'll rephrase, Your Honor. Travis, did you watch that video? I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, did you watch that video?
Yes.
Okay, how many times have you seen it?
How many times have I seen that video? This being the fourth time.
Fourth time. Okay. Now, I actually had to look this up because I didn't know. What is vacillated?
It means to shift back and forth. It's a vacillation, almost like an oscillation. It's iffy, fickle, not quite sure.
Okay, so does it mean your story changed?
No,
Okay, so your story didn't change.
no.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. And you said after you saw the Florida Keys Electric video that you got scared because you thought you were caught, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And now, did they show you that video? Yeah, I think Mr. Mansfield asked you this, but just for me, did they show you this video when you were at headquarters after they brought you in?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And what did you say when you saw the video?
At first, I was unsure if it was me or not because I didn't want to admit that it was me, and I was curious about my shoes, that they may not be the right color. But I was in grips and in shock of the fact that they had me on video, and I was vacillating between whether or not I wanted to own this and confess or hope to God that they couldn't ID me when I knew in my mind it was me.
Okay, so
That's my vacillation. Do I process it and eventually admit it, which I did.
okay, you eventually admitted. When did you admit this?
Later in the questioning.
Later in the questioning?
Yes.
Okay. And forgive me again, the vacillating thing. So you couldn't decide whether or not you wanted to tell one story or another?
No, it's not a matter of whether I wanted to decide to tell one story or another. It was whether I wanted to decide to admit that that was me or not. That that was me that was participating, that that was you and Mr. Wilson getting out of my truck. All of this was me processing the fact that I am caught. And do I want to spend the rest of my life in prison for this? So I need to tell the truth.
I very much understand.
So that's what I did.
But okay, if you're not going to admit it, then what are you going to do?
Hope that the evidence clears me because it's not concise without me admitting it was me.
And the same thing with the Combs video or Cosme video. What did you say when you saw that video?
No, it could be me. It might not be me. You can't see the truck. Yes, this again is vacillation. Shock that I've been on camera, recorded, knowing that's my truck.
Okay, knowing you could be implicated.
Yes.
And as you just said, that you could do a life sentence, correct?
Yes, I could be charged with murder.
Okay. Now, were you ever offered any deals prior to Mr. Mansfield meeting with you?
Years ago.
Okay. Could you please tell me the circumstances behind that?
My public defenders offered me a deal of 15 years to
15
testify against you and Mr. Wilson.
Did you ever take that deal?
No, I did not.
Did you ever testify?
I did not at that point, no.
Did you ever testify prior to Mr. Mansfield's offer?
A testimony, no. Statement, yes.
Okay.
The original statement I gave when I was arrested.
The original statement you gave when you were arrested?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Did you ever do a proffer just prior to my bond hearing?
Prior to your bond hearing? When was your bond hearing?
This would be January of 2019.
No, I proffered in April of 2022.
2022.
Yes.
Okay. And did you ever speak with Colleen Dunn?
Me personally?
Yes.
One time.
Okay. And what was the nature of that conversation?
Objection, Judge. It's hearsay.
We'll need to approach the bench here.
He asked what was the nature of that conversation, not directly what she said. We'll see what the judge says. Let's squeeze in a break. We'll get you back into the courtroom after that sidebar breaks up. Don't go anywhere. Tonight on Closing Arguments. In 2019, 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery disappears, but isn't reported missing for almost 2 years. Now, her own father is about to stand trial for her murder. Plus, another dramatic day of testimony in the Treehouse murder trial. The defendant is representing himself, but is he doing enough to put reasonable doubt into the minds of the jury? Our legal experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Okay, Travis, let's take a look at this. Is this the knife that you saw?
Yes, sir.
Is this the knife you saw on the day of the crime?
Yes, sir.
And who was in possession of this knife?
This was Tucker.
Okay. And you remember this being in Tucker's hand?
Yes.
Who will the jury believe? The co-defendant who accepted a plea deal and is testifying as part of that, or the defendant who turned down a plea offer? We're bringing you the Treehouse murder trial this afternoon for the defendant, Franklin Tucker, who's representing himself. Prosecutors say Tucker and his 2 other co-defendants went to a place called a Treehouse to rob this woman named Paula Belmont. She supports the defendant in this case. Matthew Bonnett was the other victim, who was the landlord, tried to intervene and was stabbed in the process. He later died from his injuries. Right now on the stand is that co-defendant who took a plea offer from the state. He's on probation now. His name is Johnson, and he's on the stand under cross-examination. Let's get you back in.
It was the beginnings of a possible deal.
Possible deal. And what year was this?
I do not remember.
Okay. If I remember correctly, you were arrested at the end of 2017, right?
November 23rd. I was
November 23rd.
charged, yes.
Mm-hmm. And
About midnight, actually, was the time.
okay. And then, so was this deal in 2017, or was it in 2018, 2019?
Objection, Judge, to the characterization?
Characterization as a deal?
Yes.
We can
Okay.
restate it as terms of a conversation.
Yes, sir. When did this conversation occur? Was it when you first got arrested, or was it later?
It was about 2 years later.
About 2 years. So that would be
Approximately.
about 2019, right?
I guess you could say that, yes.
Okay. And did you, let's see. And let's see. Okay. Okay. Now, before Mr. Mansfield offered you his deal, right?
Objection, Judge.
What's the objection?
Can you come sidebar?
Yep.
All right, looks like they are calling another sidebar, but doesn't seem like it takes them much time to clear it up. Everyone's going back to their tables. Let's see if we still have audio.
Okay, you can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, like I said, I started to say, before Mr. Mansfield offered you this current deal that you have, right? You're on a deal right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I believe Mr. Mansfield went over some of the terms of that deal. This deal spares you from the life sentence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think Mr. Mansfield said that it's dependent on your cooperation with the state, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what happens if you don't cooperate with the state?
Then the deal is null and void. It's a breach of contract.
Okay. And what happens then?
Then the judge has the ability to re-sentence me in any way he sees fit.
Okay. Is there a specific term of years?
I believe it was called a hammer clause. Life sentence.
Life sentence. Okay. So if you violate this deal, it's a life sentence.
Possibly.
Okay. Now, did it say anything in that deal about being untruthful? What would happen?
If they believed I was untruthful, this would also be a breach of contract.
Now, prior to this deal, again, did you have your attorney file any kind of motions that wanted to suppress your statements?
I don't recall. I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't think there was any suppressing of my statements.
Okay. But you wouldn't know he would have done that without your permission?
I don't believe he would have done it without my permission, no.
Oh, no. So he did it with your permission?
I don't know if he did this or not. I'm not sure. I don't understand the process of filing motions, and I don't remember every single discussion we had at all. These were very short, brief moments that I got to speak with him.
Okay. So you don't remember this conversation with your attorney?
Objection, Judge. First of all, asked and answered. Secondly, that's not what he just testified to.
Okay. I will sustain the objection.
Maybe I need to be a little clear. You said that you had numerous conversations with your attorney, short, correct?
Short conversations.
Short conversations.
Yes.
But were you aware of what your attorney was doing for you?
Yes.
Okay. And what if I told you that, would you be surprised to learn there was a motion to suppress filed for you?
No.
Okay. And it was not, you said if your attorney did this, that you would have been aware, correct?
Yes, pretty sure I would. I spent a lot of money on my attorney to handle this so that I wouldn't have to.
Okay.
I gave him full reign to do what he thought necessary as a defense attorney should be. The process of filing motions, I don't understand the procedure of law, so I'm not going to say I understood exactly what he was doing, but I know he was in my best interest. That's all I can really say.
Okay. And this is Seth LeVay?
Seth LeVay.
Okay. And who was your attorney prior to that?
Kevin McCarthy, I think is his name.
Did you have a lot of discussions with Kevin?
No.
And was he a court-appointed attorney or did
Yes.
you pay him? Okay. And do you remember when you retained Mr. LeVay?
In 2019, I believe.
2019? Okay. Let's see. Okay, and let's see. Let me make sure we're here. Go to here. Now, did you vacillate prior to, giving the current story that you have now to the investigators?
Okay, rephrase the question.
Did you tell them a different story prior to telling them the story you have now?
I have not changed my story.
Okay. Never?
There might have been some inconsistencies. Yes, I'm pretty sure, but as far as the baseline of the story, nothing has changed.
Okay. Now, even when the investigators first brought you in, you told them this story.
Yes, I've been saying and maintaining my participation in this event the entire time, and the individuals involved with me.
Okay, so made no attempt to tell a different one.
No.
Okay. And, okay, after you gave investigators this story, did you ever say anything different then? Did you ever give another story after this?
My story has been fairly consistent. There might be some inconsistencies, but as far as the truth goes, the truth doesn't change. Mr. Tucker, I have told the truth from the beginning.
Okay. And to be clear, did you come up with this story on your own?
My story is the way that I told it. The narrative that was recited by Officer Pennyfelds, who I'm sure you're referring to, she's a good detective. She may have done things wrong, but she figured this out. And I was caught, and I admitted to it. She had laid out the entire narrative to me, and I agreed with her because she was right.
Okay. That wasn't what I asked you.
But this is exactly what was asked.
Excuse me. I asked you, did somebody else come up with your story?
No, she did not come up with my story. She understood the case and understood the nature of what had happened and explained it very clearly what she understood, and she hit it right on the head. And I told her in my own words what she had basically just narrated to me because it was the truth.
Okay, it's truth.
Emphasis from that witness, a little bit of emotion in there, talking about what he told investigators, but the defense saying he was fed that story. Let's get you into a break, and we'll get you back into that courtroom in just a moment. Tonight on Closing Arguments. In 2019, 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery disappears, but isn't reported missing for almost 2 years. Now, her own father is about to stand trial for her murder. Plus, another dramatic day of testimony in the Treehouse murder trial. The defendant is representing himself, but is he doing enough to put reasonable doubt into the minds of the jury? Our legal experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thanks so much for following along with us. The trial against Franklin Tucker is underway right now in the Florida Keys. Tucker, who was representing himself, is charged with a robbery that led to the death of Matthew Bonnett and injured 2 other people. It all happened at a place known as the Treehouse. And right now on the stand, we are hearing from the admitted getaway driver, Travis Johnson. He's being cross-examined. He's admitted to vacillating and some inconsistencies, but he says that Tucker joined him in this plan for a robbery. He's also getting a question about what he told investigators happened that day. Let's go back in right where we left off.
Your story before you told it to her.
Objection, Judge. Asked and answered.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
She did not tell me my story. She told me a narrative that she had come up with that was on point with my story, which I then told to her. Not verbatim for what she told me, but the truth as she had figured it out. She just needed me to clarify what she already knew. And that's what I did, Mr. Tucker. I clarified what she already knew to be truth.
Okay. So you said she gave you a narrative. What's the difference between a narrative and a story?
Semantics.
Semantics. Okay, so did you offer any parts of that story prior to her giving it to you?
I did not.
Okay, but it went along with your story.
Again, semantics, Mr. Tucker. The narrative she explained and the statement I gave are consistent with each other because they are the truth.
That may very well be. We'll see.
Objection to the commentary.
Sustained.
Mr. Johnson, you say it's semantics. that, well, would you have gotten around to telling this story had Penny Phelps not given it to you?
Yes.
Objection, Judge. Improper question.
Yeah, he already answered it. I'll overrule the objection.
Okay. So you were going to tell it anyway?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you did say that you were scared, correct?
Yes.
That you were scared of a life sentence?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and then former Captain Phelps, she offers you the story. Are you scared then?
I wouldn't say scared, in shock more or less.
In shock. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And now, when you vacillated on the videos, was this before or after Penny Phelps gave you the story?
Judge, I'm going to object to the characterization that Penny Phelps gave him a story.
Okay.
That he's clarified that's not what happened.
Okay. Gave you your narrative.
The videos were shown to me after my statement to corroborate what I had told them was truth.
Okay.
This is when they began to understand that what I was telling them was truth, because they had video evidence to verify my statements.
Okay. Now, you just testified, though, that you vacillated during those video, but you were scared that you were going to do life and vacillated, right?
I was scared I was caught, yes.
Okay. This is after you supposedly told the truth to Penny Phelps, correct?
This is all a process of all these emotions happening at one time, Mr. Tucker. There's not a separation and identification of each emotional occurrence for me to say, oh, it was truth, oh, I was scared, or I wasn't. The compounding of all this and the realization of me being in their office, being questioned about this murder, being shown videos after I admitted that I was a part of this to corroborate my story, after I came to grips with the fact that I had been caught. Yes, there was fear. Yes, then there was also reconciliation in my mind. I need to face the consequences of my actions.
Okay. You need to face the consequences of your actions, correct?
Yes, and this is how I did this.
Okay. I guess where I'm having trouble here. You told the truth, is what you're saying, to Captain Phelps.
Yes.
Right? But then you vacillated later when you watched the videos.
I did.
Okay. So
I did not know they had these videos.
Okay, but if you told her the truth, then why does it matter?
The simple fact that I didn't know they had the hard evidence right there, it was a shock to the system, Mr. Tucker. To sit there and see yourself on, oh, I don't know if that's me or not. Yes, I know it's me, but do I want to say this? This is what's going on in my mind. So vacillation happens. Okay. Then reconciliation happens. And I told the truth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, did you ever ask for a lawyer when you were there?
Not until it was all said and done.
Okay. Did you ever tell them that your PTSD was acting up while you were there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did they stop questioning you after you informed them that you had PTSD?
No.
All right. Now, you mentioned Captain Phelps. Did she ever bring up my name?
Yes.
Okay. And about how many times during the conversation?
I can't remember that exactly.
Now, is this before or after she gave you the narrative?
I can't remember that's exactly either way, when your name was referred to, when it wasn't referred to, or this timeline of questioning specifically referred to you in particular.
Okay.